If you're self-publishing, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, or even a planner, your book has to look professionally published if you want buyers to take it seriously. And nothing screams amateur louder than bad formatting. Now, as a former art director with a design degree and literally hundreds of book layouts behind me at this point, I've seen the same 5 mistakes ruin great books over and over again. And frankly, I have made a lot of these mistakes myself. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those mistakes are and how to fix them so that your book looks clean, credible, and totally professional. And at the end, I'm going to share the tools that I personally recommend for formatting your books, no matter what type of book you're publishing. So let's jump right in with mistake number 1, and that is tiny margins. Now, margins are there to give your book some breathing room, making for a more comfortable reader experience. Small margins on a book are kind of like buying a brand new suit, but getting it a size too small. It feels cramped and it looks really unprofessional. When you're setting your margins, you've got to leave room for the spine, and you've also got to leave space for your fingers to hold the book. So when you're setting up your margins, there are 4 to consider: top, bottom, and sides. Now, that outer margin, you need to leave enough room for a person to actually hold that book. So you need to be able to accommodate their thumbs. Now, for the inner margin, that's called the gutter. That actually needs to be wider than the outer margin, and that's because you're accommodating for the width of the spine. So the more pages your book is, the bigger that central gutter needs to be to accommodate for that thicker spine. Now, if your spine is especially small, if you've got a really slender book, you might not need to worry so much about having a gutter that's wider than the outer margin. Now, especially important if you plan to print through KDP, don't rely on KDP's margin suggestions. These are just their minimal suggestions only. Instead, you want to set your margins according to your trim size. Now, here are some rules of thumb when setting up your margins. Now, this is not set in stone, they're simply suggestions. Now, the most common sizes for novels and nonfiction are either 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, this is digest, and you'll want about a 0.75 inch outer margin and a 0.875 inch inner margin. Now, for US trade size, that's 6 inches by 9 inches, you can go with something like a 0.875 inch outer margin and a 1 inch inner margin. Now, generally speaking, I would not go lower than a 0.75 inch for an outer margin. Now, a good test you can do at home is you can either order a printed proof, or you can print out a test page, pick it up and hold it as if you were reading it in your book. See where your thumbs land. If your thumbs are covering the text, your margins are too small. Second formatting mistake, bad typography. With typography, legibility is first and foremost, but the reading experience also needs to feel comfortable and easy to read larger blocks of text, especially in longer books. Now, for large blocks of text, especially if we're talking about novels or longer nonfiction books, you want to choose a serif font. It's easier on the eye. So some good suggestions here are Garamond, Baskerville, Georgia, and my favorite, Caslon. For smaller blocks of text, like let's say you're doing a children's book or something like that, you can go with the serif or a sans serif. Something like Gill Sans can be a good choice. Now, if you do want to use a sans serif in your print book, generally that works best for headings. So something like Futura, Gill Sans, Leto. There are of course exceptions to all of these, but if you want to make it a choice that really can't go wrong, you can try sticking to these suggestions. Also an important point, choose 2 fonts maximum. 1 for the headers and 1 for the body. You really want to avoid novelty fonts, so no Comic Sans, no Papyrus or anything like that. And when we're talking about size for those larger chunks of body text, you probably want to keep it at about 11 point or 12 point in most instances. And then for headings, you can go up in increments of 6 points, just as a general rule of thumb. So if your body text is 12 point, you can make your next heading up 18 point, the next heading up after that can be 24 point, and so on. Again, totally not rules that are set in stone, just some good guidelines. Now, once your book is published, if you would like to use that book to increase your authority and credibility, download my free guide, The Visibility Multiplier, 75 ways to use a short book to blow up your authority. These are all the same strategies that top thought leaders use to land stages, press, and high-ticket clients without creating a full-length book. You can find that down in the description below. Moving on to formatting mistake number 3, sloppy paragraph styling. Now, sloppy paragraphs, this is kind of like walking into a messy room. Things just feel cluttered, out of order, uncomfortable. We don't want to create that experience for our reader. Now, when you're formatting novels or longer nonfiction, you want to indent your paragraphs at about 0.25 inches with no indents on the first page of a chapter. Line spacing, you can go 1.5, no spaces between paragraphs, no double spaces after periods. When it comes to justification, you've generally got three options: right justified, left justified, or full justified. For fiction and most nonfiction, you want that text justified. The main thing to check for when you have justified text is something called rivers. So you'll know that you've got a river if you're looking at a block of text and you can see these kind of spaces that run from the top of the block of text all the way down to the bottom of the block of text. And it looks like, of course, a river. Now for other types of books, you're going to want to do left justified. And in this case, you're not going to be looking for rivers. You're going to be looking to see if you've got a ragged rag. So the rag is just that outer line of the text. It's going to be very uneven, but when you look at it, it should be generally even going all the way down. If you've got any lines that really stick out much further than any of the other lines, you're going to want to fix that bad rag. And you can do that using the line break feature. You also want to look out for widows and orphans. These are just single lines of text at the beginning or the end of a page. And again, you can fix this with a line break or even a page break in your design program. Now, number 4 is poor composition. This is really more for books that include a lot of imagery or multiple text blocks on a page. So this is especially important in books like planners or how-tos. You want to try and guide the reader's eye, and you want to do that by creating a hierarchy. So a hierarchy is really just laying out, where you want the eye to land first. If you want the reader's eye to land on a heading first, or an image, or some other piece of text, that is what should be made most prominent on the page. And readers should instantly know what's a heading, what's a subheading, and what the body text is. Grids really help you keep things feeling organized, and they allow you to experiment with multiple layouts before landing on one that works. If you're working in a program like Affinity Publisher or InDesign, they've got grids that you can play around with. Number 5 is improper image formatting. Usually this shows up in an image that's too low of a resolution. So for print, all images need to be at least 300 dpi, and that is at the size that you intend to print it. So you can't grab a smaller image that's 300 dpi, put it on the page, and then scale that image up. When you do that, your image loses resolution. So even though it might have been 300 dpi at this size, when it's this size, maybe it's only 100 dpi or even 50 dpi. You also really have to watch out for this if you're getting PNGs from the internet. So when we're looking at images on a screen, we only need those images to be at 72 ppi, so much lower than what you need for print. Now for image file format, if you want to use a PNG, again, make sure it's at least 300 ppi, and be aware that PNGs don't support CMYK, which is the color space for printing. Now most printers these days have no problem with you submitting your files in RGB color space. RGB color space is the color space for PNGs. When a printer receives your file, they're going to convert it to CMYK. You can't print in RGB, you can only print in CMYK. So this isn't a huge deal, just be aware that if you're submitting files and you've used PNGs, it's going to get converted to CMYK, and that might create a little bit of a color shift. So just something to keep in mind. For photos, you can use JPEGs, but it is preferable to use something like a TIFF file or a PSD file if possible. Another mistake I see in books that have multiple images is that they're choosing images that are completely different styles, right? And that might be because they've downloaded this image from this stock site, and then they were looking for this other image, and they either couldn't get it from there, they couldn't get it from the same artist, so they had to download it from another artist or a different site entirely. And so the images don't actually look consistent in their styling, they don't look like they belong together. So if possible, if you're using multiple images, try and download them all from the same artist so that they all look consistent. Another mistake that I've seen quite a bit is, if someone is designing something that's going to ultimately be printed in black and white, but they find a color image that they use, knowing that, that's okay, when I send it to the printer, it's going to be converted to black and white. You should really know what that image looks like in black and white, in grayscale, before it goes to the printer. Because many times, if you've got a full color image and then that image is converted to grayscale, it's going to look very muddy. There might be different colors in the image where, when converted to grayscale, they actually look almost like the same color of grayscale. And so they start blending together and it just looks like a bit of a mess. So if you want to use color images, that's fine. Just convert it to grayscale on your end first so you can see how it affects the image and you can make any adjustments you need to make before it goes to print. And then just a little bit of a sidebar on using stock images in general. Always make sure that your image comes with a license. So if you're publishing on KDP, It's not unheard of for them to send you an email and ask you to prove that you have the right to use a particular image. Any stock images that I've ever used, I make sure that I keep that license in a folder where I can see it. And this has happened to me, and I have sent KDP the license to the image, and then everything's been golden after that. But you don't want to be stuck in a position where you can't prove that you have the right to use that image. Now, if you're using images from Canva, they don't let you download those licenses. But, and I confirm this through emailing with Canva, if KDP asks you to prove that you have the right to use the specific images, you can then email Canva and they will send you an image license that you can use to send to KDP. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with the design side of publishing. Drop me a comment, let me know if there's any particular thing that you're stuck on. What's tripping you up? Let me know. I'd be happy to cover that in a future video. Also, if you're finding this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing. All right, let's finally talk about the tools to help you format books for print. Readsy Studio is a great free option. This is probably the best free option for novels and nonfiction. I also really love Vellum. Now, Vellum is paid, it's for Mac only, but this I think is the best paid option for novels and nonfiction. It's got a lot more customization options. If you're publishing low or medium content books or coffee table books or something where there's going to be lots of different blocks of text or images and it's just more of a complex layout, you're going to want a dedicated desktop publishing software. That could be something like InDesign, it could be something like Affinity Publisher. For longer books that contain a lot of text, Canva's not going to be your best option, but it is great for shorter books that are image heavy and have minimal amounts of text. All right, we've gone over most of the interior formatting issues that I come across regularly. If you're wondering about your cover, check out this video here for the top 5 cover design mistakes that I see most often. And again, if you like this video, please hit the like button, do subscribe. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.